Hello, and welcome to this short introduction on how to import data into OR. Now, the data that we're actually going to be importing is a barley data set that was recorded in 2016, and it's been saved as an Excel spreadsheet. Now, I've made a separate folder for that in my M drive here called Barley Practical Uling. We can open it up in Excel first, just have a quick look at the data. And you'll see here that it's a formatted data file. So you have colors, different font effects. Now that's not really a problem for OR, but generally OR will be much happier to work with unformatted data. So actually the simplest thing is to open up in your File tab within Excel a Save As, and instead of saving it as an Excel workbook, just go down to a comma separated, a CSV or comma delimited format, and that uses commas to separate the different columns. The folder is fine, and we'll leave the file name as the same, so we'll just hit save on that. And now we can close this, and you'll see here in the folder there's now a CSV version. Now in previous years, some people who have had issues with opening up CSVs in Excel and commas which were being used instead of decimal places, so dots to separate whole numbers from decimals. Some sort of issues have arisen. So my advice is if you have those sorts of problems and you can't get OR to read in your data, just download the CSV if it is available on Brightspace, download that version and use that rather than going through this extra step of saving it as within Excel. But if you want to just double check that, I'll just open with Notepad++, and here you see it. That's what it looks like in comma separated format. So it's got all these commas everywhere. Okay, but we're not too concerned about that. What we want to do is import it into OR. Now, today I'm going to be using RStudio, and that's a very nice user-friendly interface between OR and the user. So if you don't have it already, you can download it. It's free software, but you also have to download OR itself. So that's the actual computational software, and RStudio provides a very nice interface. Now I'll just firstly open up RStudio. It's available if it's on your computer on the Start menu. And I want to create a new project, first of all. So a new project is achieved by clicking this little blue box with a plus, so it's a new project symbol. Or you can get that from the File menu as well, from the drop-down menu of File. Now when you click that, you will be asked whether you want to create a new folder, a new directory, or to use an existing directory, or do you want to go for version control. Now we're not going to be talking about version control at the moment. We're only going to be keeping it simple, and we want to associate our new project with the Uling by folder that I made on the M drive. So let's go browse, and as I said, it's on the M drive, so it's here. And it's Barley Practical, so that was the name of it. So I double click there. Now it looks empty, but that's fine. I'm in the correct folder. So I just click open, and that now is the path, the file path that's being specified. So I say create project, and you'll see that RStudio then switches over to this new project. It takes a little bit of time, and it creates a fresh project for us. It launches it again. Now, there are a number of things to point out to you here. You've got a number of windows open. The main one open at the moment here is the console. So this is actually where we talk to OR and we ask questions of OR and we send commands to OR. So if I typed in 1 + 1 and press enter, and the answer 2, so OR will actually do that computation and send back the result. Now that's fine, but it's probably better to work not directly at the console, but to work in an actual script file. So if you click the little plus symbol here, or go for File, New Script, or File, New File, or Script, it'll open up a text editor window just above the console. So this is just a text file, unformatted text file, and here you can type 1 + 1 again. Now I'll press enter just to show you. And you see if I press enter, nothing happens down below here in the console. Well, that's because it's a text editor. But if I do the magic command, which is control and enter, so I hold down the control key CTRL, and then I press enter, then it sends that command down to the console, which then runs it, evaluates it, and returns the value of 2. Okay, so that's a little bit with how you can start building up programs or scripts in OR, and then you just highlight the code that you want to run, or whoops, I didn't want to do that. I'll put it back in there. I'll just create a new one. Shouldn't have been clicking around. Anyway, so this is my text editor above. This is where I build up commands and little scripts and programs as such. If you want to save it, well, we can see that in maybe a subsequent tutorial. You can save it as a .or file, and it'll be nicely formatted. The whole point of today's this little discussion is to read data in. So we need a particular function for that, and the function that we're going to use is read CSV. So read.csv. It takes a number of arguments, and those arguments, as you can see here, it's already come up on RStudio to give a sort of help, dynamic help. And here you see there's round brackets expected. That's because it's a function, so it needs these round brackets. And within that, I can again hit the tab key, and I'll get all the arguments that are needed and the descriptions of each of them. Now, I'm actually just going to provide one argument, file. I don't even need to write in file equals, but that's just very clear. And the file is 2016 data or barley. Let's see. So I can start typing that, or I can stop here and I can again press tab. And if I do that, then I'll get a number of options. So OR is smart in the way that it'll look up in the folder and it finds all the ones that start with that series of characters. So I'll click or press enter and select the CSV version. Now, if I do that, it'll read it in. So if I run that command, it'll read it in, but then it'll just print it out to the console. Now, I don't want that. I want to capture the output of this function. And you do that in OR using the backward assignment symbol, which is a combination of less than and dash. So it makes a sort of a backward looking arrow. And I'll type the word data there, or dat, maybe we'll call it dat. So it means it'll read in the CSV file and it'll assign it to something called dat. Now, if I run Control Enter on that, you will see that in the console, that command is printed, but nothing else. Now you may be wondering what happened, what went wrong. Well, actually nothing went wrong. In the background, it's sitting there in our global environment. You can see it now sitting there on the table. So it now exists and we can get a look at it, DAT. Now I'll use the square brackets for indexing, and I want to look, for instance, at the first 5 rows. So I do 1:5 and Control Enter on that. And now you see the first 5 rows of the data as it was read in by OR. Now you do see that there's a number of extra columns there that have been erroneously read in with the rest of the data. We can get rid of that, but that's going to be in a subsequent tutorial. But for now, I think we've got the first thing that we wanted, which is to read in the data into the OR environment.